To be or not to be? In today's video, we're going to be discussing the different states of being in Spanish, including ser, estar, and the secret third state of being not a lot of people talk about. So, if you want to know more, I suggest you stick around. Well, let's get started with being in English. In English, we have the verb to be, which pretty much describes our state of being, right? It's an irregular verb in English, you know. I am Joshua, right? I am, you are, he is, she is, we are, they are, right? We only have one word for being and its many conjugated forms, I should say, you know. Am, you are, he is, she is, etc., etc. In Spanish, it's kind of split up into 3 different states of being. Technically 2, but you'll see what the secret third one is at the very end. There's a reason I'm including it in this video. Anyways, Spanish has separate senses of being, right? Ser is like a more permanent state of being, right? So something that's kind of always going to be the case. That's how a lot of people like to describe it. Estar is like a temporary state of being. Like one moment it is, the next moment it's not, right? It is now, it's not going to be later on type deal situation. So, with that out of the way, let's start with ser. So, while I'm erasing this, I'll go over being again in English. Like I can say, I am Joshua, I am a teacher. I can also say, I am erasing the board right now, right? I am recording a video, etc., etc. You are watching this video. In Spanish, we use different forms of being in certain cases. So, let's start with ser. Ser is that permanent state of being I was discussing earlier. And like in English, it's an irregular verb. Pretty much both of these states of being, the first two, are irregulars as well. Anyways, in Spanish, these are conjugated as in yo soy, tú eres, él, ella, usted es, nosotros somos, vosotros sois, ellos son. So here you have ser in its many conjugated forms. In English, this would be the equivalent of I, you, he, she, it, we, y'all, because we have vosotros in Spanish, and they, right? Yo soy, tú eres, él es, ella es, nosotros somos, vosotros sois, ellos son. You could also include usted here, ustedes, you know, if you want to be all formal and stuff. Most of the time, these words are to describe permanent states of being. So, if we want to get into the weeds, as in to say the technical terms, we can divide this into a few more separate things. So, permanent states of being that we use with ser. Name, nationality, oh yeah, and I guess birthplace. So, for example, if I want to say, yo soy Joshua, I am Joshua, right? Soy Joshua. and that's my name, that's always going to be the case. It's permanent, etc. You could also say, in my case, yo soy español, yo soy americano, etc., etc. Soy de España. Birthplace, soy de España. I am from Spain. I'm gonna switch out this marker because it's acting all funny. Right? I'm gonna switch to purple. Hope you guys like purple. Occupation. So that's what you do for a living, right? So, soy profesor. Soy doctor, soy piloto, soy conductor, soy... What's another? Comentarista, if you want to say. You work as a commentator. Soy profesor. You could say doctor if you were a doctor. Piloto, you could say that if you're a pilot. Goes for occupations in general. You get the point. And then it goes for the rest of the conjugated forms I discussed earlier, like, oh, eres piloto, eres profesor. You are a pilot, you are a professor, etc., etc. So, even though I said earlier that this applies to permanent states, yes, you could have a profession at one time, but then you could do something else. We still use that permanent state of being said, right? You could be a pilot one moment, and then next year you're working as, I don't know, a doctor or something. It's probably not going to happen, but you get the point. You'd still use said if that's your current occupation, even if it does change in the future. Physical traits, right? If we're talking about, let's just use the third person for example. Él es alto. He is tall, right? Ella es bonita. She is pretty, etc., etc. Since we're talking about physical traits, we'd use said. Actually, another thing we use said for in Spanish are generalizations. For example, if you want to say women are beautiful, for example, you would say las mujeres son bonitas. Right? Women are beautiful. Las mujeres son bonitas. Generalized statement. Okay. If you want to say, I don't know, generalized statement. If you want to say being a pilot is hard or difficult, you would say ser piloto es difícil. Being a pilot is difficult. Right? We have that ser again. And the last thing we're going to go over time and date. So for example, if I'm saying it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, son las 3 de la tarde. It's 3 in the afternoon. Son las 3 de la tarde. It's 3 in the afternoon. So, time and date. So if we're saying today is the 4th of July, the day of me recording this is the 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, by the way, guys. Happy America Day. Es el 4 de julio. It's the 4th of July. See? So time and date, we would use es, right? So even though we like to say, use es for permanent states of being, right? Even though it's only the 4th of July, one time of the year, right? It is July 4th. It's not gonna be the July 4th permanently, but today is July 4th. So we use es for permanent states of being. Now, estar. This is what's commonly described as a temporary state of being, right? Like it is one moment and it isn't the next moment. So, for example, first way you'd use estar would be the present continuous in English. Right? What is the present continuous? It's simply anything that ends with ing, if we're speaking in simple terms, right? If it has ing in English, it's continuous. In Spanish, the continuous form would be ando or yendo. These two would pretty much be the ing of Spanish, right? Depending on which verb you're using, AR, ER, or IR. So, what do I mean by this? Let me show you. So if I'm doing something in the moment, I'm gonna do it one moment and then the next moment I'm not doing it. Like singing, for example, you could say, estoy cantando. Right? I'm singing. I'm singing in the rain. Right? This is what I mean by the continuous. Anytime you're using a word that ends in ando or yendo, chances are you're gonna use estar, right? And this is the I form of estar. Just remembered, I didn't write the conjugations on here, so let me do that real quick. estar, the second state of being, right? Which is commonly described as a temporary state of being. Estoy. It's another irregular verb, by the way. Estás. Está. Estamos. Estáis. Están. Right? And when you're writing these out, you got to make sure they have the little tilde, right, on the A. Otherwise, it's a completely different word, right? The difference between está and esta, right? Está means he is, she is, temporary state, whatnot. Esta means this, right? Esta camisa, right? This shirt, right? This, that, these, those. That's what it essentially boils down to. But yeah, if you're conjugating estar, make sure you have the tildes in the right places, the little accent markers. Otherwise, again, they are completely different words. So again, these are what you would use if you're talking about temporary states of being. So that's how it's commonly described when most people teach this stuff. Second way you use estar would be for location. What do I mean by this, right? Location is somewhere you are, right? Temporary, whatever, doesn't matter. So if I say, estoy en casa, I'm at home, right? Let's say, estoy en el supermercado. I'm in the supermarket, right? So we're talking about different locations here, right? Estoy en el trabajo. I'm at work, right? Well, I'm in the job is how it would literally be translated, but you say, estoy en el trabajo, I'm at work, right? So anytime you're talking about a location, right, spatial location, you would use estar, right? So if someone asks you, oye, ¿dónde estás? Where are you? Oh, you could say, estoy en casa, estoy en el trabajo, estoy en el aeropuerto, estoy conduciendo, right? I'm at home, I'm at work, I'm driving, etc., etc. Can't remember what order I said that in. Anyways, again, temporary state of being. Another thing we use estar for would be health, emotions, etc. I think there's one more. Yeah. So, estoy bien, estoy mal, estoy triste, estoy contento, so again, I'm good, I'm bad, I'm sad, I'm happy, right? Different emotions. Well, emotion, other states of being. For example, if you're ill, you would also use estar. Again, we're talking about health. For example, if you say estoy enfermo, I'm ill, right? All right. And then another common thing you'll hear is when we're talking about weather, another state of estar. So, weather conditions. Right. Está lloviendo. It is raining, right? Está nublado. It's cloudy. And then extrapolate this to any other weather condition you want to talk about. So, again, a lot of people like to describe it as temporary states of being, which is a simple way to describe it. But yeah, those would be the ins and outs of that. So, again, estar would be the continuous form. Health and emotions. What else did I say? Location. And then certain weather expressions. Right? Cool. And by the way, if you're struggling to learn Spanish and you need some help, there's going to be a link in the description where you can work with me one-on-one. And if you want to speak in the next 60 to 90 days, highly recommend you check it out. Anyways, here is the secret third state of being, right? I'm halfway kidding, halfway being serious. Tener. To have. What? But that's not a state of being, Joshua. Did you lie to me? Yes and no. Okay, just hear me out for a second. So, in English, there are certain states of being that you'd say for certain things, like age, for example. If I say, I'm 29 years old, you wouldn't say, yo soy 29 años or yo estoy 29 años. It doesn't work like that, right? In this case, we would say, tengo 29 años. I'm 29 years old. Right? So, when we're talking about age, for example, we would use having instead of being, right? In English, we'd use it as being. In Spanish, we'd use it as having, right? So that's why it's technically not being, but it is. It is, but it isn't. All right, and there are a couple other things you'd use it for as well. Because the way it's described, you're in possession of a certain age, right? It's not a part of you, right? It's more conceptual than anything else, right? So you're holding on to it, so to speak. Right? You have it or it has you, right? Another way we'd use tener, right, to have, would be temperature. Right? Tengo calor. Tengo frío. tengo calor, tengo frío, I'm hot, I'm cold. You would not say estoy caliente, that means something completely different. Do not say that. Unless you want to get slapped in the face. Just saying. But yeah, applies to temperature as well. Because it's not a part of you, it's something you are experiencing. It's something that you're having, right? I'm hot, I'm cold. Tengo calor, tengo frío. Another thing that tener would apply to is hunger, right? So in English we'd say, I'm hungry, I'm full, right? In Spanish we would say, tengo hambre. I'm hungry, etc., etc. And then you could also apply this to other niche cases as well, right? What's that one I put down? Another niche case you might use it for is, you know, the act of being lucky, right? Oh, I'm lucky, I'm unlucky, right? Tengo suerte. I am, or I have luck in this case. Tengo suerte. Or no tengo suerte. I'm not lucky. Or I don't have luck. There are a few more of those exceptions in Spanish, so I would definitely do your own research. But again, the main ones would be age, hunger, and temperature for having instead of being. Well, if you like the video, definitely like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any specific thing you'd like me to go over next time, definitely let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time. Peace, take it easy.